All right, welcome along, everybody, to another episode of the Deep In Coffee Hour, my favorite time of the week. And I'm very excited about the conversation we're going to have today with the fantastic human beings in the space. Deep In Coffee Hour is your go-to spot for decentralization, democratizing wealth, even though I hate that word, privacy tech, and all the wild future that we have ahead of us in this kind of decentralized space. We have a brand new X account and brand vibes. So follow us on X if you haven't already, Deep In Coffee Hour. Smash the subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube, or you can also catch us after the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Today's episode is brought to all of us by our sponsor, Havelo. Turn your unused computer power into passive income in 3 easy steps. It's as simple to install and set up as Spotify. Head over to havelo.com and you can get started today. So with all of that out of the way, I would love to introduce you to Sarah from Autonomy, Maria from Nauris Protocol. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And fan favorite, Mariella, back from IoTeX once more. I think, Mariella, you've been on the show more than anybody else, more times than anybody else. So just by a smidge, but still. Lovely to have you back again. So, yeah, I guess just we'll start off the way we always do. Sarah, if you want to go first with telling us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into this space and what you're doing with Autonomy at the moment.
Sure. The fact you're calling me Sarah is freaking me out because I feel like I'm in trouble. It's fine. There's lots of people called Sarah because it's a great name, but there's not very many people called Buxton. And so I've gone with the monkier of Bucks because it's easier on calls when you are trying to give people actions. You know, they're coming to you when they use Bucks. So that's why. I've been in this space for a little while. It always feels longer than it has been because we work in dog years in crypto, don't we? And things seem to whiz past. And I just terrifyingly, before we came on, saw a tweet, or I guess a post these days. And it said, when you realize that COVID wasn't 2 years ago, it was 5 years ago. And that really does freak you out when you think, you know, I came in like a lot of people did during that COVID time, and we're all locked in our houses, you know, doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. And you think that can't be 5 years ago, but it is. It's 5 years ago. So yeah, I am with Autonomy, and Autonomy is an amazing venture. I'm not the CEO of Autonomy. There is no CEO of Autonomy. Nobody owns it. I actually am the CEO of the technical company that deployed it, called MadeSafe. It was founded by David Irvin almost 20 years ago. Autonomy itself is an open source project. So it's controlled by no one, owned by everyone. And the idea being we need a different infrastructure for the internet. It has to be decentralized, which is, I guess, why I'm on this coffee chat with you guys today. And really, it's about trying to, now the network is live, it's forming and developing and evolving as it should be. 3.5 million nodes are running. And it's essentially a data storage network. So we work in partnership with lots of others. We're not competing with anybody because it's fascinating and incredibly important that we've got data sovereignty, but it's a little bit boring. So it's all about what gets built on top of the Autonomy network, so that people can, you know, do some innovative things that the privatized internet is just not going to enable you to do. So I'm sure we'll dive into that. And as a footnote, Neil, I love the introduction. Like, you don't even need a coffee after that, do you? Like, it's great. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I have to say, Carla from my team is just amazing at building those things.
Nice one, Carla. Love it.
Yeah, we have the Future of Deep In show that I do with Bradley from Deep In Connection, and she did an awesome job on the video intro for that. So she set the bar very high for herself, I have to say. So yeah, no rest for Carla for a while. Maria, welcome to the show. Do you want to give us a little bit about your backstory and what's going on with Nauris? Am I saying that right? Nauris Protocol? That's right.
Yeah, saying that right. Thank you so much. So I've been in the crypto blockchain space for 10 years, and working full time. Learned about it firstly in 2015 back in college. It's been a journey, a roller coaster, but I love the industry, and I think we're really disrupting the internet, and we are really disrupting the way that people look at the assets. And we really show that you can really own your assets online without any banks, without any authorities. But nowadays it becomes more and more institutional and regulated, but which is good. Like the industry is maturing. And Nayaris protocol is a quantum proof cybersecurity infrastructure. We are basically sub-zero layer that can complement the whole Web3 stack. And we can protect you from any quantum threats in real time online with a swarm of AI agents. We can work with any chain, with any bridge. We just concluded the testnet and launching the mainnet soon. And because we have our own chain to help things happen and like validate the nodes and the gadgets in the network and etc. And I think this is pretty much it. I'm a chief marketing officer of Nayaris Protocol. Super excited to work there. This year, Security and Exchange Commission, which is the main authority in the US when it comes to finance and blockchain and fintech, they published research on their website which names Nayaris Protocol like one of the best post-quantum solutions on the market, which is really flattering. We are super happy, and that's it.
Okay, I have so much that I want to double click on, because I think one of the things I wanted to try and do with this show was to make it more to make the space more accessible for the average everyday person who's not into crypto necessarily yet, but they should be, and who doesn't really understand why decentralization is important, but that they should. So that's kind of our mission, is to sort of spread that knowledge and understanding. And I feel like quantum and security is definitely an area where it's very easy to get into the weeds very quickly because a lot of it is super big brain stuff. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to break that down for us a little bit. I'm going to double click on some stuff in a minute. But first, Mariella, welcome back. Would you like to tell anybody who hasn't heard it before how you got into the space and what IoTeX is doing at the moment? Can't hear you. Oh, this is... Mariella's sound was working before the intro, so the intro must have broke your sound somehow. Well, sure, look, not to worry. We'll
Can we try again? Is it working now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a supposedly super pro mic connected. Apparently it's not that pro. So we'll just use the regular computer one. But yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me again, Neil. For those of you who haven't heard about me, I am Mariella. I'm the business development lead at IoTeX. I got into crypto very, very long ago. For those of you who haven't heard the story, I actually sold Bitcoin at $100 and I paid for a Euro trip with that. So I've been in the crypto industry for that long, and I love it. I have a special passion for it. And then now at IoTeX, what we do is connect all the simplified IoT devices to the blockchain. So we started very decentralized DeepIn. We actually were the ones building DeepIn before DeepIn was DeepIn. So we've been in the industry for a while. And right now we're focusing on more bigger things, connecting enterprise level device data to kind of solve a lot of the hurdles that whether infrastructure companies or telecom companies or even AI companies are having. So yeah, that's kind of what we're building. I'll keep it short because I know a lot of people have heard it already. But yeah, happy to share if needed.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised. Like the show has really been growing, so there's probably tons of new people every week. I think seems like that anyway. But just on that, I remember when I'm going back now. I'm showing my age probably, but I remember when IoT was like the hot thing. It was like the cutting, bleeding edge of tech. Internet of Things, like your salt and pepper shaker are going to tell you when they're empty, and it was that this is the kind of vision that people had of at the time, and it was like like roads you'll be able to change road like markings depending on traffic and all these kinds of things. And now I suppose the vision is very different. Is DeepIn the new term for IoT in your opinion, Mariella, or are they different things but kind of the same?
I think it's just an evolution, even AI, like DeepIn is a part of AI. So yeah, it's been an evolution as everything, smart devices are here to stay. Like you mentioned, I used to remember when the cars like, self-parking car was just amazing, right? And now it's like a given in any car. So it's just the new normal. So I think we'll probably won't call it DeepIn later on too. So it's just a transition. People like to understand how it feels, but yeah, I feel like before IoT was very managed by a couple of big companies, big tech companies, and as it grew, and more smaller people could come in, and we massified it. That's when it became DeepIn. So if you ask me, that's kind of my association and difference between IoT and DeepIn, kind of.
Right. Okay, yeah, because I think, like it seems like, well, I don't know. Again, this is just I suppose my perspective on it was that at the time it seemed like IoT was more about like smart devices, as you say, versus DeepIn, which now seems to be more about networks and how do we basically create swarms and the idea of lots of distributed endpoints or whatever working together to create quantum security or to verify data storage, etc. So just the interesting evolution, I guess. Look, I love thinking about what's going to happen in the future and how like our lives are all going to be wildly different. I'm mildly jealous of my children because I figure that they're probably going to live to like, I don't know, 300 years old or something with like 3D printed organs and God knows what. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I am kind of jealous that I probably won't be around to see that. I guess, look, today our show was kind of about machines that can prove what they said, and that we don't need to be involved in that. And I guess what that means for the world, just for the for anybody who's watching who maybe doesn't really understand like what that actually means for humanity and how that would change the way things are done now. Books, do you want to, or anybody, if any of you guys want to dive into that, like what does it mean for a machine to prove something without humans checking it? Like what does that open up for us as a race?
I think you can always take one or two views with this stuff. You can go really, really dystopian, or you can go utopian. And people do tend to fall on one side or another. But I think automation is something that's been going on for a really, really, really long time. It's not new. And I think Mariella said it really nicely there with IoT into DeepIn, it's just how these things evolve and we recategorize them and rename them. I think where I would start though maybe is that in the past, when we were automating things, it was more around, factory settings, enterprise. We were decreasing risk and increasing productivity, and that was a really sensible thing. And it was sort of elevating the efficiency and the effectiveness of a human being and the output that they were able to produce. As we then went on into the world, I think we moved from that into something around, it was taking the burden of effort away from you. So it was convenience. It was about not having to do things. So this is where you talk about when I started to learn to drive, because I'm probably one of the oldest on this call, if not the oldest, used to have to do this thing where you used to have to drive into a garage and check your tire pressure. It wouldn't tell you when your car tires were going flat. It wasn't continually censored. You would have to mow your own lawn. Now you can get a little robot if you so wish, or to clean your floor. And so these things are starting to remove, and they're not just making you more efficient, they're actually removing you from the equation entirely. And when you're at the center of that, that feels good because the experience is designed around you, for you, with you. It's something that you want and you feel in control of. I think with the next step in automation, and with AI as well, we're going into a little bit of unknown territory, because all of a sudden a human being isn't going to be needed in that equation at all. And I think what a lot of people maybe don't quite understand, from a layman, but also like I hear experts talking about it all the time, and they jump to the technology and the game and the cleverness and humanoid robots, and you're like, what is on the other side of the production? Because if you're removing the ability of consumption, because people can't afford to go to the cinema because they've lost their job to pay to go to the cinema, we don't really need a robot giving people popcorn, and all those kind of things. So I think it's this really interesting dichotomy we've got between integration, which is what we had with IoT, and tracking and sensoring and like understanding things, and automation. And I don't think in all of that we've really fixed the data side of that, because data is the thing that's fueled all of it. And the reason we're on a call talking about, decentralization and data and encryption and the security of all that stuff is because that's what makes all of this work. AI is nothing without data. The internet is nothing without data. And yet what we've done is for 20 years, we've literally, IoT really took off. Like by 1998, I think there were more connected devices than there were human beings on the planet. So we're almost, 2 decades on from that. So you can imagine how much is flying around the internet. And we haven't really got a grip on what are the implications of that, because I think data without ownership becomes, a mechanism for all of the things that the dystopian crowd will tell you. So I think I don't mean to go so big so soon, but I think automation in a factory setting is one thing, and job losses and all of those kind of things. But we're not just talking about that type of automation anymore. We're talking about Internet of Things type automation. And I think that has a lot more sort of arms and legs to it than maybe we quite recognize at this stage.
Listen, I am an optimist by nature, but I can't help. I mean, again, I've said this before, I've probably watched too many science fiction movies, but I just feel like we don't profit and like centralized corporate structures, again, not to sound like an anti-capitalist or a communist or something, but I just think that those structures don't especially serve humanity well in certain respects. And one of those respects is like we are careening headlong without any safety rails, really, it seems like, towards an AI future, which, may or may not be good for us. Maria, like on the security side with quantum, is quantum security a risk now? Is a quantum computer, because I know Google were working on one, but I don't remember ever seeing an actual it's live, guys, and now all the standard encryption it's live. So standard encryption is dead, or?
Well, for now, obviously Google is a legit white hat company. They will not use their quantum computer to go around and break, I don't know, banking system of JP Morgan or whatever to get some money. So it's probably fine for now. But Google has it. It's live. It's there. It looks like a huge chandelier. So it's not like in a laptop form, not yet. But I'm sure in 5 to 10 years, Apple probably will sell quantum computers as a laptop, as MacBook Pro or whatever. It's real. I was just at Dev Connect in Buenos Aires, and Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, he was saying that they need to do something about the Ethereum consensus until 2028. Otherwise, quantum computing will be able to break it. Ethereum blockchain consensus. And I'm sure they will, because the Ethereum Foundation has really gifted developers. So probably they're fine. But a lot of existing chains are in danger. A lot of modern payment system, banking system, systems like Stripe, PayPal, whatever, you name it, Klarna, they're also in danger because what's so dangerous about quantum computers, that they can solve like really, really crazy problems under 5 minutes. So imagine like you just ask them to break some code, to find loophole, to debug in some code. They can do it in less than 5 minutes. Like you don't even have to wait for like days, and you don't have to own like a huge data center with a lot of computing power. So yeah, that's like a real danger. And Google already introduced their quantum computer. Sorry.
Just a quick question on that, just for people who don't understand. Like we, and again, this is my understanding, so you can correct everything that I say that's incorrect and wrong, basically, because there's probably a bit. But my understanding is that the traditional way of encrypting something with hashes and all the rest of it, like if you were to try and brute force something like that, it would take a traditional computer matrix like forever, or to close to the end of time, depending on the level of complexity. But with a quantum computer, it can do that same work in a fraction of the time, because the architecture is fundamentally different. So there's things that quantum computers are better at doing quickly, like breaking encryption or things like that. And there's things that the regular computer architecture is better. It's not like the quantum is a step change, even though it is obviously in some respects. Is that correct? Is there anything
I think so. Yeah. So obviously right now the quantum computer that Google has, it cannot do like whatever everyday tasks that we do with our laptops every day. However, it's really powerful, and although it's huge, you can still use it for different goals, including public key encryption breaking. And I'm not super technical. I'm not an engineer. Unfortunately, I'm on marketing side of things, so I cannot. I cannot really explain.
This is a show for engineers, to be honest. This is a show for like, just kind of normal people, I guess. I suppose, is Bitcoin in danger, do you think? Is the Bitcoin consensus?
There are different opinions around. So I think like a lot of Bitcoin maxis, including Michael Saylor, they say that like quantum computing is nothing, like it will not be able to break Bitcoin consensus and etc. While us cybersecurity companies, we are just like let's be safe just in case. Let's have some software that can just like help you to prevent it. But also with Bitcoin blockchain, the problem is that like no one knows who is the founder, no one knows who is Satoshi Nakamoto, like now who can fix the code. Probably no one. We can only fork Bitcoin blockchain and start using some other chain, basically better and more secure. But like the original one, I guess it's up to the mysterious founder. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that like all this fuzz about quantum computing will not just make Bitcoin go nowhere. And honestly, like all these institutions that invested in Bitcoin treasuries and bought a lot of Bitcoin, including BlackRock and MicroStrategy and etc., probably they will not let a lot of things happen to Bitcoin. Also, a lot of politicians really like it, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's always
support. But yeah, like if we look at the reality of things, no one knows who created that blockchain. So yeah, anything can happen.
Yeah, Neil, if I can add real quick, so threat towards Bitcoin, just because we're talking deep in and I'm very passionate about it, threat towards Bitcoin, it's a longer term thing, right? Depending on how the consensus mechanism protections are evolving and how they upgrade the network, then we can create protections. Probably the first biggest threat is obviously the encrypted keys, more towards wallet directly. But then coming back to kind of your original question, kind of the loophole, but it's actually machines, and machines will fight themselves. Machines will protect themselves. Even nowadays, right? They're using the power of machines to fight other machines. So this is where also it goes back to what Bucks was saying about, making sure that there's some verifiability, there's some data, there's some trustedness in certain machines, which is kind of what we're building with DeepIn, right? We're trying to create a decentralized network so that there's no single entity trying to, make harm. But when we decentralize it and we create all these machines working together to protect the ecosystem, this is where we can actually prevent it, which is why I'm very passionate about DeepIn, because I think it solves a lot of the future problems, solves a lot of the past problems to connectivity, growth and everything. But it's also a pathway for us to protect all of these topics that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm in the same boat as you, Mariela. Like part of the reason that I fell in love with this space, and I'm still here despite the cycles and the and the like multitude of bad sides to this industry, especially if you work in marketing. My God, but like the scams and the rest of it, it's just exhausting. But at the same time, when you actually understand why decentralization why Satoshi, like if you read his white paper and understand why he started Bitcoin, he built it, or he or they, I suppose, it was about power and control and censorship. And just the idea that we can distribute wealth as well as, control and make things so that no single bad actor can take everything down. That's really important for humanity, in my opinion. Alrighty. Just to go back to our theme about machines that can prove they did what they said and no humans required. I mean, what does that look like in real terms, right? We're moving towards, I suppose, a world with robots, AI controlling things. Do we, like in a decentralized world, we have blockchains that are storing data that are essentially, DeepIn networks that are, in a decentralized way, storing data, protecting us, that kind of thing. So I guess what I'm asking is, actually, I don't know what I'm asking.
You sound really stressed. I don't know. We've gone down this slope of doom. I think I just wanted to build on something Mariela was saying and what you were saying as well there. And I think you can almost feel a bit spun around with this stuff because it is, and particularly if you're saying viewers of your show are new to this and, crypto is a scam. And like we even talked about, BlackRock and JP Morgan won't let Bitcoin fail. And you're like, how the hell did we get here? How the hell did the thing that was meant to be, decoupled from institutions and centralized banking and all of the nefarious things that go on there that mean us normies are not in control of anything, and our currency and our take-home pay is worth less and less and less. How did we manage to hitch our horses to those guys in crypto? And eventually, I guess the apprentice will become the master and maybe it will work out, I think. But for me, whatever you believe the future of money will be, and whether you care about the yen carry trade, or whether you're worrying about any of the other things that are going on with quantitative easing and all of that kind of stuff that affects your everyday life and things that you pay for. And then on top of that, we're talking about how we're going to automate the jobs and we're going to make things more intelligent than you could ever be. So you now don't even worry about putting effort in. You don't even need to put thought in. You can relinquish the ability to think because these things will think for you. And that, I think, becomes quite dangerous because, again, putting money and earning and lifestyle and society as we know it today to one side, and let's be clear, it's the best it's ever been for the majority of the population. Everybody on this call will live a better quality of life than the kings and queens did of merry old England 100 years ago. No question. Like, we're in a much better situation. But I think what we need to start waking up to quite urgently is the fact that we've had the biggest data on ramp in history. And we've literally on-ramped all this data, and now it's sitting there, and that alone is the most valuable commodity. And that's what we're talking about here. Is it's not just about, and I like blockchains, and they're ideal for payments, right? Because they're centralized ledgers. There is a centralized technology in that so that you can verify transactions and you can see what's happened and all that kind of stuff. And it's run obviously on a decentralized infrastructure if they're done correctly. But it's so much bigger than the flow of a currency, because your data is actually, whether we're trading seashells or dollars or Bitcoins, it doesn't really matter. What are we trading it for? And so I always come back to that supply and demand equation. We've got all our data is the thing that's powering all of that. So what we need to really, I think about is, yes, you can sort of say that the blockchain as it is today, quantum computers aside for a second, it's tamper-proof and it's verifiable. Great. But that doesn't affect the action that's happened on the blockchain. That doesn't affect the conversations in the back rooms of power that decides that they're all going to dump their Bitcoin or they're going to buy their Bitcoin, or, it doesn't actually stop the actions that are going on. And I think that's where and I know like it feels like buzzword bingo when you talk about self-sovereignty and democratization of data. Yeah. But if you don't own your own shit, you're not in control of anything. And I think that's the point. So when you're talking humanoid robots, I don't want to hire somebody else's robot that can literally walk itself back to the factory in the same way my car can drive itself back to the garage, in the same way that my bank decides I've eaten too much of something this month, so therefore it will reject my payment. I want to have control of it. And human beings, unfortunately, for the powers that be and this technocracy that's sort of emerging now, we've got the other side of the internet too, because that checks and balances is like, yeah, you've got all this data on us, but we've got all this connectivity and information on each other. And if we can make sure that this side of the equation counters this side of the equation, high DePIN, we've got a chance. We've got a fighting chance in the world that you were talking about, Neil, that you're envious of, that our children will hopefully experience, will be real, rather than the alternative, which is some weird combination of a Tom Cruise Minority Report and a Keanu Reeves Matrix. And I don't think anybody wants that. That's fine staged in Hollywood. We don't need that coming into our everyday lives. So I think for me, it's less about machines doing without collapsing. There was that thing back in the 80s, Tharac 25, which was radiation therapy, and it gave incredibly high doses in the late 80s to people and killed them. It created massive problems because it was a machine that was automating this radiotherapy, and it went wrong. I don't think we're talking about that. I think, machines doing things that they should do in the way that they should do them, that's fine and great. But I think there's a whole bigger conversation around that, as in, who is that machine working for? Who is it programmed for? And what are the overrides on it? And where does the control come from? Because if it doesn't come from all of us, it won't be able to be stopped by any of us. And I think that's where we need to sort of focus attention on how quickly these DePIN networks can scale and show that they're secure and, that they're fit for purpose. And we're getting there. The progress over the last, I would say, 12, 18 months, not even just talking about autonomy, which the progress over the last 12, 18 months is amazing. But even beyond that, the things that we're all doing and the passion that's here, we've just got to keep going, basically, because I don't think we have a choice, because we're in the race of our lives right now. That's how it feels to me anyway, without being too dramatic.
No, I agree with you. Everybody's in this race, whether you want to be or not. And yeah, I don't know. It's when I hear it actually gives me a great hope when I hear people like you, Bux, saying things like that about the progress that autonomy has made in the last year. Because sometimes I think from the outside looking in, you don't really see everything. There's a lot of DePIN projects. I mean, I know like in Havelo, we have a bunch that we aggregate, but it's very hard to keep track of the entire ecosystem. I'd say, Mariella, you probably do a better job of that than anyone. I think we have the DePIN Association, which I'd say it depends on who you talk to on whether or not you think that they have done a great job of kind of promoting the space. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it personally myself, but I've definitely heard mixed reviews. IoTeX seems to be like at every conference, flying the DeepIn flag. So what are your thoughts on that?
It goes back a little bit on, Bugs was saying, when a machine fails, it kind of corrupts the system, and that could happen. But what if we connect all the data? And this is where DeepIn is really strong, and that's why we're always pushing this, educating. And now we're educating a lot of enterprise on this, because the problem is enterprise level, they all handle the data separately. Nobody's aggregating this data. Nobody's connecting it, right? So I was just in an energy conference last week here in Spain. Big players, we have Vodafone, Iberdrola, Schneider, GE, and everything. And I was very surprised about how they handled the energy grid data. They have to secure it and pass it on to other, let's say, players in the network in a safe manner. But for them, it's such a difficult process, encrypting the data, making sure to store it. Nobody's actually collaborating. So I was really impressed. Like, for example, there's a lot of like energy farms who are not checking weather data to optimize the energy farms. And then that's where you get problems like the Spanish and Portuguese, failure on the energy grid, because we're not aggregating this data and utilizing it to make our systems more efficient. Where in DeepIn, that's what we're doing, right? We're building an infrastructure where there's various players that we come in together and we make the whole infrastructure better. By distributing the system. We know each part has its own thing, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, that's why we're trying to push right now also with IoTeX, trying to educate enterprise level about how also blockchain can, make it easier for them. It makes it safer for all of us. It makes it easier for them. It makes it cheaper for all of us. And also when you implement all the systems, it actually also helps day-to-day people, because there's also a lot of, energy flexibility, they call it, which is when you don't really need as much energy as they're providing. So you can actually save a lot in your energy bill. Why is that not happening? Because we don't have data from sensors. We don't have data from your home, but they are sensors in your home. We just need to, connect that. So I feel like this is where DeepIn and, projects like us, we can come in very helpful and solve all of this. But again, it comes to, and it's always been our mission in IoTeX, and that's why we're so open about, working together with other projects, with other brands, with associations, because the only way that we can actually build an infrastructure that works efficiently for everybody and safely is if you have different parties involved. And so, yeah, that's why you always see us in events and everything. A lot of people say, it's we've had some, or, oh, you're wasting a lot in marketing, but not. The thing is, when you go there, you can actually connect with the people and you understand what others are doing. And from there, ideas and projects come to mind. So that's why we're always pushing. We're always trying to be there. We're always trying to understand what others are building, because when you get stuck only in building what you are building, you fail to actually make your project better, the infrastructure better, and just in general, I know it sounds stoic too, but our world better, right? Collaboration is the key of blockchain. That's why I'm passionate about it. The only way to get better is to collaborate together. Right?
100%. And actually, I will say, it's been my experience the last 12, 13 months that in DeepIn in particular, it's a really collaborative space, I think, comparatively to some of the other corners of crypto, Web3, blockchain, whatever label you want to use. Just on something you said there, it's absolutely wild to me that they're like, for example, energy is a great example of that, where, it just makes absolute sense that they would share information to improve the overall efficiency and optimization of things. And I guess, again, it's just another argument for why decentralization is, in some cases, is much better than the centralized alternative, because in a centralized world, you're kind of trying to silo things. You're trying to keep competitive advantage. You're trying to, you don't want to give away any value to anyone else. You've got shareholders and fiduciary duties, etc. All right. Yeah, I think 100% agree with that. Maybe we could just talk briefly about what you guys, because we're coming up to the end of the year now. So I'd love for each of you just to tell us, what your highlights of 2025 have been with your project, like milestones that were achieved or anything that was of particular note that you're proud of. Maybe Books, do you want to go first, and then Maria, and then Mariella? I'll just go around my screen.
Go around the circle, around the virtual coffee table.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So what am I proud of? What are the team proud of? Autonomy was 19 years in the making. So the thing going live in February was like a big deal. Despite that, it means it's in its infancy. The 3.5 million nodes, don't be, fooled by that. It is still, trying to get off its hands and knees and find its footing and find its visibility. So I think as we move towards the end of the year, network stability, making sure, and we've been talking about briefly, we kind of skirted over quantum compute and encryption and security, and the whole premise of the autonomy network, and the stuff that Mariella's doing and the stuff that Maria is doing as well, is that when you want to store data, this thing is better than storing it locally on a hard drive, which can be lost, stolen, damaged in a fire. It's up on the network. You pay once and it's there forever. When a piece of data goes up onto the network, it's effectively like fragmented into lots and lots of pieces. The guys call them chunks. Those chunks are then duplicated so that you've always got data availability, and it's scattered across the network. So no node is holding anything that makes sense. It's holding a gobbledygook of just random data chunks that are always moving around, and then you as the data owner have a data map and a key, and then you can bring that data back together. And that all sounds lovely, but that's an infrastructure play. So to be a backup for people that are using blockchains or for doing IoT stuff and other interesting things, they need to be able to interact with that network. They need to be able to have an interface. They're not just going to take 6 months to go off and build something, that can communicate with the code, the command line interface, because that's too much hassle. It's like most people want to run something locally, sort of a headless operation that they can plug and play and put their data up en masse. That's what we're building now. So again, it's still open source because we're not doing this to commercialize, beyond giving people the tools and the opportunities to build their own companies, their own ventures, their own startups, to bring data onto the network. There is a token called ANT, and basically you pay once in that token to upload your data, and you're done. So there's no tick boxes, there's no terms and conditions, there's no gatekeepers, there's no monthly subscriptions, nothing. It's a genuine permissionless network. And so by the end of the year, what I'm really excited about is to have a demo of that first product. And I'm sure many people in the community are going to build their own versions, but what we want to do and what we've been trying to do this year is to build some things that help developers speed run stuff. So you can use what we as a team have developed, or you can take the code and build your own version of it and improve it and add things to it. So that's what I'm personally really excited about. I love the fact that the project's gone from, it's a really difficult nut to crack, and it's gone from an R&D mode with a genius founder, he is incredible, to something that's actually live in market and developing the tools and the level of accessibility, which means it is a genuine option for anybody that's interacting with the internet, in exactly the same way that we talk about let's de-Jeff the web and remove Amazon servers and the dependency of those servers from the internet at large. And so yeah, if we de-Zook it and de-Jeff it, I think we're going to be in a better place. And so yeah, that's what I'm personally really excited for the end of the year, is seeing the first demo of that, so we can get cracking in 2026 and give us the internet that we actually need, not the internet that we've got. I think that's critical for all of us with the new technology that's coming.
Yeah, here, and especially with some of the stuff that's been going on with, like in the UK, you were talking about on your local hard drive, on your iCloud. Like, you don't want to be keeping anything on your iCloud if the UK is a beacon of what's to come for the rest of us that don't live in the UK, because it's just bananas. I mean, opening things up like that so that down the road, some bad actor with powerful AI and quantum computing capability can just use those same backdoors.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's the assumption that everybody thinks about the present. So even with the government, and it doesn't matter which government, but the government that you kind of know and like you've got awareness of it, you're not planning for what's the government going to be like in 10, 15 years time when our kids are affected by this stuff. And if Mariella was talking about, with the DeepIn infrastructure and how data is shared, and also how it's not shared. And I think that's also critical, because it's a case of, oh, I'm sorry, you're under 30. That means you're not allowed to visit this town, or you're a female. That means you're not allowed to own this kind of car. And I know that's ridiculous, because it sounds ridiculous, but go back 100 years and think how ridiculous this entire setup would be for anybody that was ported into this or had a dream about it. It would be, you couldn't comprehend any of it. So I think the naivety of what we're building now means that the status quo isn't going to deviate too far from what we're familiar with right now. That's nuts, because that is not the case.
That's not what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Maria, what's something that's been happening with NARIS this year that you guys are super proud of, milestone-wise, that you can look back and say 2025 was a great year? Are you still there? Oh, you are.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're having a lag.
Sorry. I guess my internet is not the best, although I'm on Wi-Fi at home, but whatever. Sorry about that. So we had over 800,000 nodes this year, which is great. We mitigated hundreds of millions of cybersecurity threats in real time online, and as I mentioned, we were featured in the submission to the SEC about post-quantum framework, and we were mentioned in a very favorable way, and they published it on their official website, and it's a government entity. It's a very important authority in the US, so we're super proud to be featured there in a very complimentary way. And also, we will be hosting our private summit for the first time this December, gathering somewhere. And we were talking with some governments, with Central Bank of Argentina, with the government of some other Latin American countries such as Colombia, Guyana, and etc. So super proud of that as well. And if we talk about the industry as a whole, super excited about Ethereum Fusaka upgrade, which I guess coming on today, right? About industry maturing and becoming more available for a lot of different types of people, including governments and institutions, hedge funds.
Well, Maria, your connection is just coming and going really badly for me. I don't know if it's the same.
Was it okay?
I got most of it, I think, but it's not great.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
No worries. Just it happens. This is the centralized internet we have. So, Mariella, do you want to?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
Who knew?
Listen,
and Neil, don't blame the decentralized internet. It's the centralized internet's fault. I'm sure.
This is the centralized network that we have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It was probably my accent. I apologize for centralized internet. No, look, I think on the second or third episode of this show, I was in the Philippines, and I tried so hard. I mean, I poured money into trying to have a good internet connection, and I literally couldn't hear. I mean, it was terrible. It was so stressful because I couldn't hear. As soon as somebody else spoke, I couldn't hear anything that anybody said, and so it's very hard to actually ask questions based off of what people are saying when you can't hear what they're saying. So it was very, very stressful. But yeah, look, we've all been there. No worries. Marielle, do you want to take us through something that your IoTechs have done? What's
sure.
2025 been looking like for you guys?
Yeah, this year was very exciting for us. Definitely, we deploy our AI agents, which basically are utilizing all the data from Deepin projects to generate toolings, whether for businesses, for people. We even have our own AI mascot. We call it Bino. He has his own Twitter. He speaks for himself. So if you want to go follow him, just find him. Yeah, it's Bino AI and Aztecs. We're happy also, like as Maria mentioned, we've seen a lot more openness from governments. We're actually working, we're part of the Blockchain Association in the US, where we're actually talking with a lot of senators and everything about how regulation should help us. And they're also willing to learn and see how to create a regulation that will help us all. So yeah, we're very excited. We're actually having small dinner in December, mid-December, with the Blockchain Association and a couple of members from Congress. So we'll see how that goes. We're very excited about that too. We created also the Foundry, the AI Foundry. So because we realized that also us as Deepin, we've stayed in Deepin, but as we mentioned during this whole episode, we have so much data coming from Deepin projects. The only way to really process it is through AI. So we're trying to also teach people about how AI and Deepin really goes hand in hand. At the same time, AI needs Deepin because it's impossible to escalate all the resources that AI needs in a centralized way. The only way to provide it is through Deepin. So yeah, we also launched that. We are working on a POC with Vodafone too, which is our first big enterprise brand that's looking into utilizing Deepin models to expand their network. So very excited about that too. And yeah, right now we're just talking with a lot of enterprise level folks. Obviously, December slows down for everybody, I think. But yeah, we're very excited about next year. I think next year will definitely be the year where enterprise finally adopts all of our tech and all of our infrastructure. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what's the next year comes. And that's what I tell people, don't be scared about the markets right now. It's normal. First of all, it's normal in December always to have rough markets, but also everything that's going on enterprise level, bank level, institutional level, it's gonna come back. So, for everybody who's hearing it, like you said, maybe there's some new people trying to understand how to get, or they're scared about the crypto markets right now. It's not really a showcase or a reflection of what's actually going on infrastructure level. So definitely I would recommend everybody to do their own research, figure out what's going on infrastructure level, and you'll see all the developments that are being had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, well, I mean, there's no way to know what these markets, what they're going to do in this space. I've been through, this is, I think, my third or fourth cycle at this stage. So I don't know. Next year literally anything could happen as far as I can tell. But I think what's interesting about Deepin versus the rest of the space is that, it does seem like, and actually more and more as the year has gone on, it seemed to me that a lot of projects have taken another look at their tokenomics to make sure that the sort of value flywheel makes sense. So, that there's fiat coming in, whether that's through enterprise clients or some other, what I would call demand on the demand side of their business. So they have actual companies, people, whatever, developers who want to use their protocol, their platform, their layer one, whatever it is. And so fiat is actually flowing in. Because that's the thing that's happened before, but it was in speculation, or it was in NFTs, or it was in DeFi. We had capital inflows from retail, from institutional, that kind of pushed everything up. It increased the capitalization of the crypto market as a whole. And we just haven't had that this year. There's been meme coin trading. I think we've been waiting for an alt season to happen all year, and it just hasn't really happened. Deepin tokens writ large have been kind of struggling, I would say, for the most part, all year. And
it's not been about trading, right? It's been less about token and more about tech. And I think that shows the space is maturing, because otherwise we're just a bunch of traders trying to figure out, when we can cash out to get the most from the space. And that's extractive. So I love what you just said about fiat coming into the space to support the tech, which then obviously eventually benefits the token holders anyway, because they're effectively your early supporters and shareholders, in the new world. So I love that too. I think that's a really, really positive sign for the space.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think that all of these Deepin projects have to actually not for it to not be just about the tech. It's all well and good. Like if you're thinking, yeah, we're going to build the coolest, insert something here. Great. Like that's awesome. But it's a bit like, like a chair. Like, is that something that people want? Is there a product market fit and can you sell it? If yes, great. Awesome. Sell it and let's go. Let's get that fiat in. Let's turn it into native tokens so the project, can fuel its own ecosystem. And like you say, all the early supporters. And if that's what's happening, happy days. And if it's 2026, Mario, I have more hope now from what you just said, because 2025, just looking at because obviously we would have a perspective from Havelo aggregating 11 DPINs, looking at what our goals for 2025 were to get the average user with average tech. So that could be, we have this, one of our founders has this this ideal customer profile of ICP, a marketing term, but not really a customer, but a user profile of the Kenyan farmer, we call him, where he's just a guy with a laptop and he leaves it running while he's out doing his other thing, which is in this case farming, but it could be anything. And from that, he builds himself up, like a secondary income, which he's able to roll over into. So that could be DeepIn earnings initially. He's able to roll that over into maybe some cloud mining with some more powerful GPUs. It's a product extension we're going to be launching soon. And to be other things in the future as well. So for Havelo, talk about what's been great in 2025. I think we've come a hugely long way from where we were pre-TGE. The tech is improving all the time, slowly but surely. And we're positioned, I think, now that we have great frameworks and things internally for adding new networks and things like that when that makes sense. But we're really rooting for all the DeepIn networks to really start selling to enterprise and to start that to get their flywheels humming, because when they do, then our users get to make money as well, and then the whole thing works. So bring that on. That's my wish for 2026 is that we all that all of DeepIn just gets powering along through enterprise sales and through or whatever kinds of sales the various projects are after. I'm just going to finish with one last question before we wrap up, and ask you guys, if you don't mind, if you have anything that you think is going to happen for 2026, like what's coming down the road for you with your project, what should we be looking forward to, or if you have any other macro view kind of comments that you want to make, now's your chance, and maybe just add where people can find your project and or who it is that you want to find your project and how they can get involved. We'll go the same again, if that's okay.
That's perfect, because it links in with what you were just saying. So I think it's great earning tokens that actually have a use beyond being sold. So utility is a key thing. And what's really interesting about the DeepIn space is, for example, if you've got like a Netflix subscription and you didn't need to pay for your Netflix subscription in dollars, but you could pay in the Netflix token, which you earn by doing something else, that's got an immediate utility to you. Just to put it in basic terms for those that, maybe are like, what on earth are they talking about? So the same thing if you've got data that's coming onto the network and it's, you pay one time, you upload it, it lives forever. What do I pay for it in? Oh, well, Ant. Okay, how do I get Ant? So making that a little less friction full, which is what it is right now. And I think there's some really interesting innovations happening around whether you really buy into stable coins and that kind of thing, but the fact that you can pay with a credit card, you can pay with fiat, or you can, you've got things like paymasters where you don't need to hold different currencies to be able to interact with a certain product. So for us, 2026 is about getting people using the network, getting people uploading that data so that actually Ant has a utility. It's needed. It's being bought out the market to be able to utilize the network, and therefore you don't need to just keep, selling what you've earned through running nodes. You can, and same with Havelo, you can actually put it to some other use that's something that's desirable for you, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to is bringing utility to the token, because if we bring utility to the token, it means people are storing their data securely, safely, and genuinely in a completely decentralized and highly distributed way. And that is so important for what's going to be built on top of that. So You can find Autonomy on social channels with Autonomy on X. YouTube is a really good resource. We've got an amazing chap called Jim. He's Scottish, so he's got one of those accents that you either you love it, or you go, say that again. But you can always put the captions on it. But he walks. Yeah, AI just gives up with them, him and David. But that walks through the basics of it, how it all works. They're really fun as well. So video content on that. If you want to pop into Discord, you're welcome. That's more for builders and developers, people that want to use the technology. That's kind of what that space is for, to help troubleshoot and get people set up. So that's us really. Yeah, and I agree with you. Roll on some more value into this side of life in 2026, so that it's actually useful for many of us rather than extractive for a small number of the chosen few. I think that would be really good.
Hear, hear. Maria, are you still with us?
I'm super excited about our mainnet and about Ethereum Fusaka upgrade. We are EVM compatible, so should be a really good year. And what else I'm excited about? I feel like just like in general that a lot of governments and institutions right now are interested in the industry, which is a great sign. I think it will evolve and thrive even more. And if you want to find me, just follow Nayaris Protocol on X. It's x.com/Nayaris Protocol. You can see it in my name right now. It's just all together. And join our community on Telegram. It's at Nayaris Protocol. Really easy, and we welcome everyone to our community, and you can ask questions about cybersecurity. You can also download our browser extension and basically get some perks and as an individual, and be safe.
All right. Safety first, everybody. Go get yourself a browser extension.
I was breaking up, wasn't I?
Quantum secure yourself. No, actually, it was fine that time. Yeah. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Mariella?
Sure. So yeah, I think next year will definitely be a shift for everybody. For Deepin specifically, I think we'll see a shift in the economy. I do believe there's going to be more enterprise and more financial coming in to kind of support our tokens. This is not going to be the case for everybody, but I do think there's going to be an economic shift of us. But I think it's also up to us to kind of connect with these institutional players, let them know the importance of Deepin so they can put us in a portfolio. But I think we're having great signs. Actually, Bitcoin just got back to 90K. So I guess us talking is good vibes. So we should keep on talking.
It's definitely our fault.
Definitely us, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, our credit, whatever the opposite of
course. Yeah. Everybody's, training because of us. But no, yeah, I think it's going to be a very good year for Deepin. Again, there's going to be a lot of infrastructure and tech building. Maybe the tokens will take a little bit longer to catch up, but they will eventually will. So very excited. If you guys want to learn more and also see what's going on in the US government style, you can follow our social media, mostly on X, outtex.io. There you can find all of our resources, and we can also let you know what's the panorama looking in the US. And then we're also working right now with Korea, Japan, Europe, here with me. So yeah. Thank you for having me again, Neil. This is always a great space. And yeah, let's keep Bitcoin pushing back.
Yeah, and not just Bitcoin, all decentralized tech and projects and everybody in the Deepin space. I really hope, I feel like there's been just an enormous amount of work done in 2025 by the industry at large. So I hope that 2026 we all get to see a bit of the fruits of all that labor. Just in terms of adoption, in terms of, how widespread the knowledge is. I mean, I went mid-year through this year, I went to Paris Blockchain Week, and we were saying we were talking about Deepin, and like people at a crypto conference, like the majority of people at that crypto conference did not understand the term Deepin. So much so that we actually came away from that conference and went, we need to do a little bit of a rebrand on how we talk about what we do, because aggregating DeepIn obviously means nothing to most people, even in the space, never mind like the normies. So yeah. Anyways, I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to 2026. It's going to be really exciting for Havelo. I think it's going to be really, really exciting for DeepIn Coffee Hour as well, now that we have 2 separate brands. So yeah, I think with Havelo, the product is going to change quite dramatically. So it's going to be really exciting. I think everybody should keep an eye on it. Follow us on Havelo Official on X, and you can go to havelo.com and download the app, get set up. It's free to use, super, super simple. And why not make a few quid from your computer? So with all that said, thank you, ladies. This is the first time I've been outnumbered by the ladies on this show. So that's awesome. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thank you all for coming and sharing your wisdom and your experience. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in. There's about just shy of 3,000 tuned in at the moment. The show is just gone from strength to strength, and that's all because of everybody who tunes in and watches us talk about technology in the future each week. So huge thank you to all of you. We will be back again next week. In the meantime, everybody, is it too early to say Happy Christmas? December 2nd? It's a bit too early, is it? We have our Christmas tree up for 2 weeks at this stage. My wife takes no prisoners about Christmas. It's like her favorite time of year. So I don't feel like you know what? Happy Christmas, everybody. Be kind to each other out there. See you next week.